What is going on, everybody? It is Daniel Wright here again with another episode of Paving the Way, and I am happy to have you here on this Wednesday morning when you are listening to this. Guys, I am enjoying my week so far. It's Tuesday when I'm recording this now, and you're listening to this on Wednesday, so we're at hump day at this point, which we all like hump day because we're halfway through the work week. But just because the work week ends on Friday doesn't mean our obligations and our duties to continue growing and developing end at that time. Also, that's why I like to do this on Saturdays as well. So that way it continues to go on throughout the week, space it out evenly and just give everybody a little dose of Daniel every now and then. So I appreciate you tuning in today. And the topic that I am wanting to touch on today is going to be where your feet are. So this is something that for me, well, hang on one second. If you're watching this right now, you're going to see there's a box behind me and I got to move it. So, all right, this is what we like about doing these live shows because I don't edit them or move any of that stuff out. So if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple, then you have no idea what I was just doing, but there was something in the back of my camera that I couldn't stand looking at. So, but anyways, back to the topic, be where your feet are. This topic is relevant to me right now for a couple of reasons. First, this past weekend, I was fortunate to go down to Southern Florida with Kelsey. She came down with me, and we went and spent the weekend with my grandparents at their place down there and just got to spend some time together, enjoying some good food, beautiful weather, and an endless amount of memories that we got to make as a family. And some of the things that came up is a little backstory is, my grandfather, my grandma, they both, or they owned their own company for several years, about 35 years to be exact. And they did well at what they did. And so me being the Mr. Inquisitive person that I am, a lot of times like to bring up different conversations and topics, whether it's about business, life, whatever it may be, and just get their perspective on it. Just get their opinions, their perspectives, and whatever wisdom I'm able to soak in while I'm with them, I try to absorb it. And one of the things that came up when I was kind of sitting there, talking about my goals and what I'm wanting to achieve and accomplish and to grow into and so on and so forth, both personally and professionally, is, they said, Daniel, you need to, having the goals and the aspirations are important. You got to have those, but you also need to be able to find, peace and contentment and happiness with what you have. And if my wife, Kelsey, ends up listening to this, she's going to tell me what she loves to tell me all the time, which is, I'm pretty sure I've been telling you that for a long time. And yes, I know a lot of people say that, be appreciative for what you have, be content with what you have, so on and so forth. But there's also a group of us that can probably relate to the struggle of that because we're always looking for the next advancement, the next opportunity, the next challenge, the next achievement, the next goal, whatever it may be. We're looking for that next thing. And when we were just talking about that down there, it was, enjoy the life that you have right now. And because, there's a lot of people that would trade about anything to be in your shoes. And when I thought about that, it's like, like you're not wrong. And it's not anything I've never heard before. It's not, earth shattering, information and just, mind blowing things. But there's times when certain people say things that just gets kind of, pounded into your head a little harder than other times. So it just got me thinking that, I need to do a better job at being where my feet are and enjoying where my feet are and appreciating where my feet are. Because truth be told, where my feet are is not bad. Even the days that I have that are difficult, that are challenging, that are frustrating, stressful, anxiety ridden, whatever it may be, they're not bad. The problems that I have are good problems to have. Whether it's how am I going to get the amount of work done that we have coming in, or, which family member are we going to go travel and visit to see next, or, what house are we going to be hosting a family, holiday or gathering at, is it going to be our house, or, our cousin's house, grandma's house, whatever it may be. Like the problems that we have really are good problems. I can tell you if you're listening to this right now, or if you're watching this right now, it's either on a platform such as Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. Okay. Which, yes, the majority of the world can access those platforms, but the bottom line is you're able to access it at the click of a button. You're able to get this. And so now when you put, when this video or this podcast showed up for you, it was okay. Well, do I listen to this one or do I listen to another one? So you've got all these options to choose from, and that's your problem. So I know I'm kind of going on the tangent about our problems and stuff, but it's so easy to get sucked into wish it was more, wish it was different, wish it was this, wish it was that, as opposed to saying, I'm thankful for this, I'm thankful for that, I'm thankful for where I'm at right now, whatever it may be. And I just want to, use this time to just remind everybody that, I was listening on the flight home on Monday. I was listening to a podcast, and Alex Hormozy was a guest on it. He's a guy who talks a lot of business and fitness and things like that. And he's a pretty smart guy, close to my age. Honestly, I think he's in his mid to young 30s. And one of the things that he said in it was, he said, he has a difficult time being grateful and practicing gratitude, because it's always about kind of the next thing and moving on to the next. Not saying that it doesn't, the things that he's doing now or has now don't matter, or that they're not valuable. It's just hard to take the moment and, smell the roses, so to speak. And he said a couple of things that, I can kind of point out here. And one of the things that he mentioned was that he is currently in the good old days of the future him. And if you take a second to think about that, when we think back to, oh, that was the good old days, whether it was your senior year in high school, whether it was, the senior year in college, whether it was when you were, you know, promoted to vice president of a company, whatever it may be, whatever you look back and say, oh, the good old days. At the time that the good old days occurred, did they really feel like the good old days? No, they just felt like a moment in time. Yeah, were they maybe happy or exciting, your senior year, if you were a football player or a basketball player, or you won a contest or an award, things like that. Yeah, those are exciting. But did you really, really take time to dive in and think about that? Man, this is a moment that could be one of the good old days that I look at from my future self. And if you take the time to think about it that way, just for example, like literally when we got home from the airport, we went to the grocery store and we were picking out some different stuff for, for some Easter baskets and things like that that were going to be given away. And I was with Kelsey, my wife, and I literally caught myself just stopping and watching her look at all these things that she wants to put in the Easter basket. I'm like, man, like this is going to be the good old days one day. Doing this right now, right here together, her and I at a Walmart at 7:30 in the evening, just picking out stuff that we get to give to some kids for, for Easter baskets. That's going to be the good old days one day. I need to enjoy this. I need to appreciate it. I need to value this moment in time right here, right now, because I'm not promised tomorrow. Because what if, for some reason, that's the last time that I'm ever going to get to go Easter basket shopping. I don't know. Right. But it was that moment, because I was tired. I was ready to go home and unpack my bags and things like that. But she wanted to get this done. And it just hit me as I was sitting there getting antsy and wanting to leave the store of like, man, like, you know what we're doing right now, we're going to look back on one day and say, man, remember the good old days, when we were going to Walmart at 7:30 in the evening, just because we wanted to go get stuff to put in Easter baskets, and that leads me to another thing that Alex said in the podcast I was listening to. He said, whatever you're doing right now might be the last time you do it. And like I said a second ago, when we were Easter basket shopping, that might have been the last time that we get to do it. Who knows? We don't know, right? And when you really like take a minute to think about those things, regardless of whether they're exciting times, whether they're challenging times, whatever it may be, it whenever it's that last time, you never know it's going to be the last time, right? How many people, if I think back to my time when I used to be a fireman, and we would unfortunately go to calls with whether it was like, a cardiac arrest, a heart attack, some sort of a medical condition that a person passes away. And when we're talking to the family, trying to get the background and the story of what happened, what were they doing when this occurred, so on and so forth. A lot of times, a common theme was if we went to a cardiac arrest call in the morning, the spouse would often say, well, we just talked last night. We had plans to go do blank today. We were just talking about we're going to go here. I don't know how this would have happened. Well, you know what? When they were having that conversation the night before, when they were having that discussion about what their plans were for the next day, they didn't know that was the last time they were going to have it. Would they have had it a little different? Would they have loved a little harder? Would they have been a little bit more present? Would they have been a little bit more forgiving, given a little bit more grace? Probably. So if we really, and I'm not trying to take this down a sad rabbit hole, but guys, at the end of the day, this life that we get to live is a journey. And I tell you guys all the time, the stuff that I get on here and talk about and flap my gums about that you guys apparently enjoy listening to because you keep coming back for more. Um, the stuff that I talk about is stuff that I'm currently going through, that I'm currently working on, is relevant and present in my life. So I'm not sitting here discussing these things, making it sound like I've got it all figured out because I sure as hell don't. I'm 32 years old, young, hungry, ready to keep growing and dominating everything I want to do. And I want to do it all today. And there's never enough time to do it. There's never enough, resources to make it happen. And I'm telling you right now that, I encourage you to join me on this journey to try and do better about being where our feet are. When you have that friend that comes up and talks to you about something going on in their life, whether it's relevant to you or not, be there. Listen, actively listen and communicate with that person because you never know. You might be the only person they get to talk to about that. You might be the only person that can give them the specific advice that you're capable to give them. And man, if you don't do that, if you aren't present, if you aren't there where they're at with them right then and there, do you let them down? Yes. Do you owe them more than that as their friend? Yes. Do you owe them, if it's your spouse, if it's your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, your son, your daughter, your coworker, whatever it is, any person in your life that is looking for your undivided attention, you owe it to them. And if you can't give it to them, you better tell them because otherwise you're selling them short. You're selling them a bill of goods at that point. And when you do that, it will come back to you and you'll realize, you know what? I maybe wasn't present for them. I maybe wasn't where my feet were when I was with that person. Or that last time that you were able to talk with them or to chat with them. And maybe that would, that time they were coming to you for advice, maybe that was the last time you were going to get to speak with them and you weren't there. Guys, we're not going to get it right every time. We're not going to, hit the nail on the head and be present every time that something occurs. We're going to be distracted. We're going to be sidetracked. We're going to be, thinking about other things when stuff happens. But I challenge you to just make it more front of mind. However you have to do that in your life, make it more front of mind to be where your feet are, to enjoy the time you're being given, to enjoy the opportunities, the blessings, the chances, and everything else that comes along with this life that we've been given. Be more where your feet are and take note of it because you never know when the last time that you're going to get to experience that thing, that moment, that conversation with that person at that place doing that thing. You never know when that's the last time you're going to get to do it. And if we can think more like that, I am positive that we will all get a lot more enjoyment out of our lives. I have no doubt about it because you can't be appreciative, grateful, and happy about something and not enjoy it. Those two things don't coincide, right? So continue to do that. The last little piece I'll give you is today. Like I said, this was Tuesday that I'm recording this right now. I had a meeting at a church earlier. A lot of churches will have a lot of older churches, at least here in the South specifically, will have cemeteries on their property. And I was there was part of this drive that they were wanting to add on some pavement to the back area to make some parking for the cemetery. The congregation, the church is more of an elderly congregation, so a lot of the folks, will drive their cars up there for funeral services. And right now it's all just grass. So when it gets muddy and wet and stuff like that, as you can imagine, it turns into a mess. I was standing up there, sitting by my truck waiting for the individual I was supposed to meet, and a woman pulls up. And I kind of got out and made small talk with her. And I said, "Well, you don't look like the guy I'm supposed to be meeting." She goes, "No, that's not me." And she says, "I'm just here to put flowers on my husband's grave." And I'm like, "Oh man," I'm like, "Well, that's awfully nice of you." She's like, "Yeah, well, both my husbands are here." I'm like, "Oh gosh, okay." Well, the story could go one of two ways, right? Well, it's very relevant to what we're talking about because she said, "My first husband died at 33. And guys, I'm 32. And here I am with being present and enjoying my life and never knowing when the last thing that I'm going to get to do something is. And that's front of my mind. And this random woman that I'm not even supposed to meet. And the only reason I'm there is because the guy I was meeting was running late and he asked me to hang out a few minutes for him. Coincidence? I don't think so. But she said, yeah, he passed away at 33. I said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to hear that." And she was an older woman. So this had been, sounds like years ago in her life. And then her next husband, her second husband, she remarried. She said they had been married for 3 years, and he died at the age of 44 of a massive heart attack driving home from work. Fortunately, his car, when he had his heart attack, the car kind of drove off into a field, a cow pasture, I think she said, so it didn't injure anyone else. But just driving home from work, massive heart attack, and he's done, just like that. So, do you think that if he was on the phone with that woman and maybe they got into a disagreement, maybe they got into something, and maybe if he would have known that that was the last conversation he was going to get to have with his wife, still considered a newlywed. I mean, heck, 3 years, that's newlywed, right? If he knew that was the last conversation, do you think he would have said, "I love you" a little bit harder? If maybe they had a disagreement, do you think he maybe would have just said, "I'm sorry. This really isn't worth arguing about." So guys, think about life that you have, that you've been blessed with a little bit more. Be where your feet are. Be present. Enjoy what you've been given. Enjoy what you've earned. Enjoy what you've been entrusted with. And make sure that the people that are around you that you're enjoying it with know it. Make sure that they know you're enjoying it. Guys, I'm going to be on this journey with you to get better about it. As I've said before, I talk about these things because hopefully it will resonate with at least just one person that gets to listen to this, and gives them a little bit of encouragement to know that they're not the only one dealing with it. I really appreciate you guys. I look forward to continuing to do these, and I love that I'm doing these a little bit more, I guess, kind of spontaneous and what's on my heart and on my mind at the time. So, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. If you want to talk about anything, get my perspective, whatever it may be, whether it's on here on a show or whether it's offline privately, I'm here for you, and I'm just here to help however I can. So, guys, help me continue paving the way for those around us. Continue to like it, share it, comment it, anything like that is the only thing I ask for, because obviously, the more that these posts and these videos and these podcasts get interacted with, the more people get to see them. And so the more impact we can make, the better. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And I hope you have a great rest of your hump day.